Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tim Gaybar, Superintendent of Mount Pleasant Area School District, and today I have Santa Hare joining me, as she's the coordinator of special education. And so much programming that takes place in special education, and you see it throughout the elementary schools, throughout the secondary schools. And some of the programs that we see that all students get to take advantage of actually come through the special education department as well. They have their hands in it. But recently, we had several folks come in, our special education staff. Can you speak a little bit to what that couple days was like? I know there was some training and some discussions going on, and just getting the group together a little bit. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so groups of teachers came in, K to 12. We had a wide variety and representatives from each of the grade levels, I believe, or even at least the buildings. We identified some strengths of the program, some concerns or needs of the program, and we used those needs to kind of outline what our professional development might look like for the rest of the year. We also worked on a handbook that will be used collectively amongst all of the special ed staff to kind of promote consistency between the IEP case managers as well as the buildings.
Awesome. That's hard. Getting time together is difficult. So
It sure is.
to have everybody be willing to come in for a couple days in the summer was really beneficial, and I think that handbook will be helpful to a lot of folks and families and what have you that want to know some about the program. So I know at several of our buildings here, we're doing the Positive Behavioral Intervention Supports, the PBIS program. Can you speak a little bit to what that is? Because I know you were pretty instrumental in a lot of that coming into those buildings.
Yeah, so school-wide positive behavior intervention and supports is a universal approach to behavior. It's an evidence-based tiered framework that addresses the social, emotional, behavioral, academic success of students. When it's implemented with fidelity, it kind of promotes a positive school climate, a safe learning environment where students can thrive. We've had some success with it over the past. It's been received well from staff and students. We've seen a lessening of our behaviors. The students are responding well to the positive interventions that we put in place that recognize the PRIDE expectations. Within the model, you're supposed to have behavioral expectations. As a district, we identified Viking Pride as our behavioral expectations. So our expectations are as P stands for politeness, R stands for respect, I stands for integrity, D stands for discipline, and E stands for effort. And there are banners throughout all of the buildings that have these displayed. We then take those behavioral expectations, we teach them, we practice them, we model them for the students in every environment. So we teach them what pride looks like within the cafeteria, the hallways, recess, the classroom, online environment, or whatever environments that the teams believe need to be addressed.
Thank you. And I know the junior high just started that. Was it last year was our first year?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, and we've been seeing it gain momentum in the elementaries, and I believe they have a good handle on how they're going to keep the momentum growing in the junior high this year. So, and
Yes.
thank you for that. It's a great, now it's not just a building level, it's more of a district-wide approach to supporting student behaviors and putting them on the right path.
Absolutely. Donegal and Norval will be implementing this year, so it's exciting.
Excellent.
Yep.
Sounds
So we'll be
great.
K to 8 so far.
And then the MTSS, I know Mr. Breyer was in here as well as Mr. Bentler, and we had spoken to them in their segment, and they spoke about the MTSS, excitement from their end because they able to see some immediate gains in some of the things that they're doing and now how they're building their schedules and what have you. Can you speak to us a little about what is MTSS and what does that mean and what does that look like?
Yes, MTSS is a multi-tiered system of support. It's a preventative and proactive framework to address educational outcomes of students. It is school-wide positive behavior support. They're actually encompassed under the same umbrella. It looks at both academic and the behavioral needs of all students. So both programs are based on 4 principles. The first is screening. We screen all kids at least 3 times a year using a variety of assessment measures. Progress monitoring is the second component. So we then, based off of how they score on the screening measures, we will monitor their progress towards anything we have in place, whether it be curriculum or interventions. 3 is the data-based decision-making. So we take all of that data and we use it to guide instructional decisions. And then 4th is the tiering. Once again, both are tiered models. When you look at the tiers, the tier 1 is the 80%. That's the whole. It allows us to look at the school, the grade, the class, the curriculum, and if there's any needs there. When we move up the tiers to tier 2, We look at approximately 15% of students we believe would fall within that tier, and that is the intervention. So that's small groups of students that might need something additional a couple times a week. Tier 3 gets more intensive in nature, so it might be more individualized or smaller, as in 1 to 3 students, where we would expect 5% of our overall population to fall. And as it intensifies, obviously, the number of times the student receives the intervention. So those students might be receiving something 5 days a week.
Yeah, it's been just really, talking to the principals, there are a lot of programs they implement over the course of time, some more difficult than others, some are more well received than others, but this is one that's really been well received.
Yes.
To see the data that goes behind it and the work that's put into it and the groupings, and for them to see the success, they saw some immediate success, so they're really excited about it. And that came through in talking to both of them, that they're excited. Their staff is buying in, and the staff is really being very helpful. So it's fun to see that come together like that.
Oh yeah, it
Very
definitely
beneficial.
influences the school culture. So
Absolutely, it
positively,
does.
it's wonderful.
So, and those are two big initiatives that we've done last couple of years, and we continue to grow. Anything new for 23, 24, relative to special education that you might be able to think of as we move into the school year?
Relative to special education, when we met as a team, we talked a lot about consistency again. So one of the things that we identified is our progress monitoring approach. For those people that aren't aware, when a student has an IEP, which is an individualized education program, the IEP case managers have to monitor a student's progress towards the objectives and components of the IEP and report that quarterly, at least, to parents. So we noticed between buildings, within buildings, that there was an inconsistency. So on August 22nd, the staff's going to be implemented or trained on a progress monitoring module that will allow that consistency to be K to 12. So as parents become more familiar, they will know what to expect from year to year. Also within our conversations when we met at the beginning of the year, the way we complete our paperwork was a little bit different. And the staff agreed that we think that should be more consistent, so we created some templates. So again, parents should be able to see from year to year and evaluate the progress that their students are experiencing.
You're right. I mean, consistency, regardless of what it is without a doubt very beneficial. That way, when everybody talks to one another, they collaborate with one another. They're all talking from the same page, and it just makes life a little bit easier. So it's very helpful.
Absolutely.
Any other specific items as we go into the school year that you'd like to share from any level?
The secondary building, the ELA department, and the life skills staff, as well as the Ramsey life skills department or classroom, is going to be implementing a literacy curriculum called Language Live, which is based on the science of reading. They piloted it in addition to a couple other ones last year, and they all unanimously like this one, so we are going to implement it this year. It's unique because it's a combination of an online and teacher-led instructional approach. It's supposed to have proven effects for reducing gaps for students and addressing educational needs. So we're looking forward to it. They will be trained on it also at the beginning of the year.
That sounds great. And the beginning of the year, is quite busy with
Yeah.
trainings. And there's only so much time in each day, and we all jockey for position to try to get as much time as we can for our staff. But well, thank you to Mrs. Hare for joining us. It's nice to place a face with a name, and although we could talk for quite some time on some things that are happening in the special education department, wanted to give you an overview about where we're at with some items and where we're at moving into the 23-24 school year. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for joining us. And
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone out there for joining us. Have a great day.